All right, what is up everybody? Scott Brio back again with another tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about something called parallel compression. Now you might have heard of this before. Some people call it the New York drum trick. It's a method of taking sounds and beefing them up, making them sound a bit thicker. This is really helpful for things like vocals. Works really well for drums as well, or basically any part of your mix that you need to be louder and sit in the mix better. Essentially be thicker and stand more on its own. I'm going to show you how I use it today in this quick little project that I've made here with some vocals of my own. What it is it's two layers of vocal processing. One of them is dry, and then the other one is going to have really heavy compression on it. Compression levels that you would never really use for any other purpose. So we're basically squashing the second layer of the vocal, and what you do is you then blend it into the original. By doing that, you get to keep the original dynamics of the original vocal while also having this hyper squished kind of flattened vocal underneath it. You can layer them together, and by doing that you get a lot more clarity and a lot more density in your vocals, or whatever you've got the parallel compression on. Now, I've done this today with all stock Ableton Live devices, and I've packaged it together so that you can download it from my website. There'll be a link in the description below. You can download it, and I've got a bunch of other cool plugins and stuff, Ableton things that you can download, but this should be super helpful for your mixes. So anyway, let's flip over to Ableton here, and I'm just gonna show you what we've got going on. Essentially, I have just a drum loop here. I've got a synth loop and a bass line. And then I've got my vocals. I want you, I want you, I want you. So basically what I'm replicating here is a, full mix, quote unquote, of like a house track. I've got the vocals processed, they're EQ'd a bit, and I've got some delay and some reverb on there. So they're sitting very nicely for the most part, but I want them to stand out a little bit and be a little bit more present, a little more focused in the mix, because there's a lot going on. You got all the drums and the bass and the synth. Having the vocals sit in your face makes for a very kind of radio ready sound. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna bring in the preset Ableton device that I have made for you all, and I'm just gonna explain it and let you hear it real quick, and then we're gonna recreate it so you know how to make this on your own. You can still go to my site. If you don't wanna build it on your own, you can just download it from my website and plop it in there. So anyway, let me let you hear it first. So this is without it, and then I'm gonna turn it on, and you'll be able to hear the difference. I want you, 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 I want you to find me. I want you, 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 I want you. So you can hear it's subtle, but it really does add a lot to the density of your vocals. And you can adjust this to make it more pronounced or less pronounced. It depends on the song and how much of it you need. But what we got going on here is we essentially just have a dry chain at full volume. We have another chain with our parallel compressor, and you can see that it is very squashed. So the ratio is all the way up, almost all the way up. You got a good amount of attack and release, and the threshold is all the way down. So let's listen to the parallel compression layer just by itself. I want you, I want you, I want you. So you can hear it's really pumping. It's really, every time the vocal kicks in, it really pushes down on it, creates this kind of squished sound. And when you layer it back in with the dry, I want you, 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 I want you. So it sounds really, really good. I've also put a little note in here, just an extra layer that just says adjust gain, so you know to adjust the gain. And then I've got the tube dynamic here, and the tube dynamics, what that does is, it's not really a part of typical sidechain compression, but I really like the way it sounds. Tubes add a good amount of dynamics and crunch and grit to a signal that you feed through it. And so I added it on here so that you can blend it in. And if you want to hear that by itself, it sounds like this. I want you. I want you. I want you. Mm-hmm. I want you. And then compared to the dry. I want you. I want you. Mm-hmm. I want you. I want you. So you can see it's just really kind of all about making layers to create this density. Now let's recreate it, and I'm going to show you how I do this. So essentially what I do is I just bring in a compressor onto my vocal group here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control-G, PC, and then hit this little button here to open up the chains. Now I'm going to hit Control-R, and I'm going to call this one parallel compression. And then we're going to right click down here, we're going to go create chain. And let's make that one dry. So that's our dry channel. And I like to put the dry on the top. And so from there, what we're going to do is we're going to essentially dial up our ratio to something crazy and bring our attack and release up. And let's bring the output up to like 16 or so, 16 dB, because it's going to make it a little bit more quiet. And then you want to drop your threshold almost all the way down. You're going to adjust this based on what you see here. So let's give this a listen. I want you, I want you, I want you. Cool. And I like to bring the threshold just to where the dips start, just to where it starts to, lose signal. So from there, we can bring this back down to, I don't know, minus 16 or minus 15. You got to play with a little bit to find the sweet spot, but this is the basis of parallel compression here. So let's listen to it before and after. I want you, I want you. I want you. Mm-hmm. I want you. So it has a really, really nice effect to it. And then from there, what we can do is we can add another chain, and we're going to bring the dynamic tube onto here. This one is whatever you like it to be. I generally like the sound of the C tube, which is kind of the most aged and weathered tube. It sounds the worst, so to speak, but that's what you want, is you want character. We're not going for subtlety here. I like to dial up the bias, bring the tone up to the right, and it'll boost the highs a little bit more than lows. Give it a little bit of drive and a little bit of envelope. And that should be essentially what we're looking for. So let's hear that. I want you. I want you. I want you. Mm-hmm. The tube adds kind of a grittiness to the low end, a little bit of dirt in there, which is really nice. But then of course, we can dial this back down because we don't want that full volume either. So let's hear that with everything together. I want you. I want you. I want you. Mm-hmm. Cool. And let's hear it on top of our track. I want you. I want you. I want you. Mm-hmm. I want you. I want you. I want you. Mm-hmm. I want you. I want you. I want you to find me. So there it is. That is parallel compression. This is an old school trick that's been used for decades and decades. They used to do it with actual real hardware compressors, and we're very lucky now that I can make this in Ableton and share it with you all. So anyway, if you want this plugin, you can go to my website, which is in the description below at scottbrio.com. If you want to help support, you can click any of my affiliate links down there in the description. You can also go to my website if you need mixing and mastering. I have a company called Dance Diamond Mastering, where I do house and techno and breaks, even some indie rock and that sort of thing. You can listen to some examples there if you want. I work with all the best artists here in San Francisco to help master their music and make it sound the best it can possibly sound, really perfectly mastered so that everything that you put up on SoundCloud or Beatport will sound as good or better than everything else. And of course, if you liked the video, please give me a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. I'm Scott Brio. Peace out.